This is Trevor Fowler with assignment T2. The process of creating a phone stand using a laser cutter involved several steps. First came designing and drawing the stand. I drew the stand in Adobe Illustrator and had to consider that the final product would exist in 3 dimensions, while all the pieces could only be cut in 2 dimensions. This meant I had to carefully measure the phone and every component that I made to make sure the pieces would fit together. As you can see, in my first design, I used finger joints to hold pieces together, while in the second design, I decided to use a living hinge to allow the stand to be adjustable and hold the phone at several angles. Several problems arose when using the laser cutter to actually cut out the pieces that I drew in Adobe Illustrator. Sometimes the laser cutter did not cut all the way through the plywood. I attempted to fix this problem by lowering the laser cutter's speed. It was already at max power, or by running its tool path multiple times to get all the way through the wood. Another problem I encountered was that when I first cut this second design, the curved piece at the bottom was too small. I had to scale it up about 1.5 times. Once the pieces were cut and removed from the wood, friction alone did not hold them together very well. So, at the suggestion of my TA, I used hot glue to secure the pieces together, which formed a strong bond that was somewhat flexible, not too rigid. Also, at the end of the arms on this living hinge design, I added a strip of hot glue to help prevent the phone from slipping off. The use of a living hinge in my second laser cut design provided a number of advantages. As you can see in this image, a curved piece that attaches at both sides of the living hinge can snap in and out of the main body of the stand and allow the backrest for the phone to be adjusted to support the phone at multiple angles. If I were to make this phone stand or a similar one again, however, I would make the backrest taller and adjust the radius of the curved piece to better support the phone. This particular stand has a somewhat difficult time balancing the phone. One major strength of the first phone stand I made is that it has 4 points of contact with the phone, which holds the phone more securely than the living hinge design. To create the 3D printed phone stand, I followed a somewhat similar process. First, I drew the phone stand in Fusion 360. I drew the most complicated face first, shown here on the right, extruded it, and then modeled subtractively to open up some more space. I made sure that the measurements in Fusion 360 matched those of my phone. Then I used 3D Printer OS to orient the drawing from Fusion 360 on the bed of the 3D printer, and I made sure to orient the piece so that it was least tall and needed the least support. This video is of the 3D printer printing a chess piece, but the process it uses to print all pieces is the same. It prints in horizontal layers. A challenge that I encountered when 3D printing my piece was that the supports in one of the narrow spaces were somewhat difficult to remove. However, this did not have a major impact on the final product. Using a 3D printer to print a single plastic piece was much easier than using Adobe Illustrator and a laser cutter to make many pieces that then needed to be assembled. Additionally, the plastic is somewhat flexible and would not break if it was dropped. It's also somewhat attractive and doesn't have the burnt edges that the laser cutter creates. The 3D printed phone stand can hold the phone at a low angle or at a much steeper angle when it's rotated 90 degrees. One shortcoming of all the phone stands I created is that they're made to fit my phone exactly, which is smaller than most modern smartphones. Like my first laser cut design, this 3D printed phone stand has 4 points of contact with the phone, providing a secure hold. Additionally, the lack of material between the legs of the stand allows them to flex and contributes to the aesthetic of the design.